At SteelSeries, we make the headsets, mice and keyboards that the world's best gamers win the most with. And we've been doing it since way back. It's up to you how far you go, but whatever you do, go for glory.
Welcome back to the Northern League of Legends Championship. We're on week 2, day 1. And it's kind of hot in here because let me introduce you to the desk. We got the return of Initialize and the one and only. It's Tarok!
Tarok.
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 Hey guys.
It has been a long time, man. How are you doing, Tarok?
I'm doing very well. I'm very happy to be back. It's been a very long time since I have seen these shores. I thought I'd come back in one way, but I'm very happy to be back in this one instead. So, yeah. No, my adventures in Prime League are over.
Instead, you're back to the NLC. Welcome, mate. It's good to have you. Yeah.
And the best
How are you
part
doing,
of
by the
it
way?
is the background is still the same.
Yeah,
Of course.
It's
Ever
like,
since
it's ever since
2022.
22. It's the same background. Those boxes have been there in my brain ever since.
Yeah.
Do
That
you think
blue
we-
one, it's the same. It has the same content inside it.
So much Lego.
Exactly. Look, I've got to keep the background the same, right? It's just how it is. We've got to maintain the Lego theme because come sponsor us at the NLC.
You're
Lego,
building
thanks.
something. You
Yeah.
don't know what, but you're building. Talk
Exactly.
about that. Good job, Initialize. I like the.
Thank you. It needs a little bit. It needs a little bit of like neatening up a little bit. But I'm quite happy with where it's going right now. I thought I saw you, mate, and I went, you know what? I could be as cool as Archer on one day if only I grew a beard like him. You know, so.
That's it, folks. That's all you need. Tara, come on, step up, step up. Well,
Yeah, what's
talking
going on?
about stepping up, let's take the elevator because eventually Middlecott has been inspired by elevators lately. Let's talk about the causes for today. Middlecott and Veteran, how are you doing?
Doing great.
I was doing great. I was doing great. Then we had that introduction, Archer. What we threw a shade at me
Wait,
for?
I'll do something for you. How you
It's
doing?
just, oh my! Whoa! How did that happen? What a
Magic.
seamless transition! Yeah, no,
The
I mean,
birds!
I'm just happy to be here again. Like, I love doing NLC. Like, this is my 4th split. Like, and it just keeps getting better, man. I'm really excited. It was nice watching the games go off last week, and I'm just ready for another set today.
Yep, I'm also really excited to be here again. I think today's games are really, really close. When I was filling out the prediction form, I was thinking a lot of these I could just end up being wrong on straight up. So I don't really know what's going to happen today. A lot of teams have a lot to prove. But remember, you're not really here for me. I am merely a vessel for something greater in the form of the bird who is accompanying me once again. Well, I'm accompanying
We
him.
need a voice for the bird. You know that. Eventually, we need a voice for the bird.
True. I am currently the voice for the bird, but eventually, I mean, once the bird.
So
gets
that's
a
not the
you know,
voice
the-
of Veteran?
I am a vessel. I am a vessel. All right, the greater you.
It's getting very metaphysical right now. Like, I'm not sure
No,
if
he's
I
a
can wrap my head
Darkin.
around all this.
It's a Darkin. You have 8
It's a
trucks, you
dark-
have, you know?
It's deep lore.
It's a
It will be
Darkin,
revealed
yeah,
over the
it's-
course of the season. Okay, all right. We have a whole season's worth of plot to get through.
Let's work on that story. Let's toss it back to the desk and understand where we're standing right now. Welcome back, folks. Now we had a pretty interesting week 1. I mean, come on, one of those boxes must have a pair of sunglasses. Come on, Tarek.
Yeah. Come on, it's got to be something
Week
in there. Just have a
one.
Lego
You
pair of
make a
shit.
very good
Before
point.
we go any further, I do want to check in with something because I think I heard, and I feel like I must have misheard, because I'm fairly certain I heard Veteran admit he could be wrong, and I don't think that's ever been heard on camera ever before.
Oh. The
Oh,
music
geez.
is stopping as well. Okay, so tell me something. Week 1, it was interesting. We only have 2 days until now to analyze what we had in the previous week, but still, some surprises. I would like to take your intake on what surprises we should highlight. See, another pair of glasses.
I mean,
It's
I've
just-
got a lot.
They
it's
just keep
popping,
coming.
it's
I
popping.
will have to go get some at some point. It's just how it is.
But how was week 1? Now you have the glasses initialized. Now you're the desk
Yes.
initialized. Tell me something. Yeah. How was it?
I
week 1?
think week 1 was an interesting one because, again, we were in this position where so many of the rosters and even the teams had just changed. We had basically no team come in without changes, and there were very significant ones that came on through. And it meant that when we were getting into week 1, one of the things we said was like, look, we know some of these names from how they've played in other leagues, but a lot of them are new. A lot of them are on teams that are obviously very new, so we didn't necessarily have an idea about what the average level of all the teams was going to be coming in on. So we had guesses, but it was quite hard to be accurate, shall we say. And it meant we ended up with a bit of a bloodbath week one, honestly. A lot of majors being played in random locations, some teams that looked really hot, other teams who went, well, that was not what we expected at all. But then again, I'm looking at people like Ruddy, bit of a mix. People like Venomcrest, that was pretty good. Blue Whites, no prep, come in and, rough game 2, but solid game 1. You can go down the list and go, well, at the very least, it's been entertaining.
Todok, I would say the same. Like, entertainment-wise, we're good on that part, but what team highlighted for you? And if possible, let's talk about the champions as well. Like, what did we see in the first week? We're changing the patch today. We'll talk about that further on. Don't worry about it. But what were the champions that you really need to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if we're looking at the top end of our league at the moment, Venomcrest and Nord both came out at least as the strongest teams emerging from week 1. I think they were expected to be near the top, but I mean, as it says there, right? Venomcrest were the best performing team by stats last week. They did, if I remember correctly, get a little bit of a stat pad versus the Blue Whites because they were a team just coming in with no prep, and that does help out with looking like the best team. But on the whole, they came in, they looked strong. They were dominating really both their games, if I remember correctly. And, even though there was sort of a back and forth factor in their first game of the week, most importantly for them, they have been a team that came out and showed not only a bit of style in week 1, but also the performance to match it, which is what we like to see.
I totally agree. And you back at home, how good are you at predicting stuff? Well, probably better than we are because we are terrible. So join the Fantasy League right now. And this is really important because if you are the top dog at the end of it, you may be on the first spot, taking a Steel Cities Apex Pro TKL, Steel Cities Nova 7. We heard about this before. Don't worry, we have a video clip just for it. If you're the second one, you'll get a Steel Cities Nova 7. And if you're the third one, you'll get an Arox 5, which is the wireless mouse that Milocott kept crying for almost 3 months in a row, even before the split started. So yeah, join the Fantasy League and tell us who you think is the top player. Build your league and you'll go gain points every single week. Talking about those players, might as well show you the top players so far on the Fantasy League. This is really interesting because we actually have an asset showing us like the players at the top of the league so far. We did. But we don't right now. You can go online and check on those. Don't worry about it. We have 5 players that are highlighting right now. I could actually tell you right now who they are. Just to make sure that everything would be nice. I'll tell you about it on the second game. Don't worry about it. Oh, there you go. Actually, we do. Lenny, Kiturukan, Sami, Ecstasy, and Simpy. For you folks, for both of you, do you find any surprise on these names?
I think there's a couple here I go like Lenny. I think we all knew he could definitely be one of the better performers. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I think people, from what I was talking about, thought Ecstasy was going to be good, but there was a couple names that he might be competing with. But I think after performance, that doesn't surprise me. Simpy and Sumi, I wasn't expecting to be in the position they were, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sumi's performance in week 1, it was varied, it was scattered, but if you look at both of his early games, it was complete domination. And I mean, you've got to be pretty impressed by that.
Hey, he joined.
There we go.
Okay, now we're talking. So join the Fantasy League right now. This is not an order. This is an open invitation. But do it! Come on! Now for the schedule, what do we have the menu for today? We're going to start with the match of the day. Actually, this is an interesting one because it's going to be Ruddy and Venomcrest opening up the Summoner's Rift for NLC Week 2, Day 1. Natives will follow up with LLS afterwards, and then Nord versus Verdant. And to wrap it up, we have Blue Whites versus DMG. So pretty interesting schedule for today. You already saw for tomorrow, but don't worry, there will be a surprise as we go onward. This is Day 3 right now. This will be the match of the day, the first one. With that in mind, we need to understand where are our predictions. I know you got predictions in as well, Torok, and I would like to judge them, appreciate them, sorry. Okay.
Interesting.
Pretty much everyone going for Venomcrest, but it seems Torok has a different mind, and he's sharing that mind with Foxtrot. Please explain.
Well, my first port of call was to make sure I bet as little as possible on the match of the week because these two teams are so close in skill that I did not want to, sabotage the guest record by getting it wrong. However, I did feel that although Venom Crest have looked very, very good, Lenny perhaps is overgrouping a little bit too much, and with the way that Ruddy like to play, with Built, with Alex, they might be able to come out on top. So I'm hopeful for Ruddy.
Interesting. Aside from that, pretty much everybody's going for the same. So I do believe these games today will be pretty interesting, but it seems that at least the voices have aligned for the casters. And well, for the leaderboard, things are not aligning well for me, but let's ignore that one. Middlecott somehow is in first place.
That's gotta be
a mistake.
Like, I'm sorry, that like he's got a perfect and no, I refuse to believe that's accurate. Yeah, that can't be real.
Duckling is sitting with 2 points. That's also a mistake. We'll have to check that with tournament organizers to understand where we actually are. Probably Duckling is with minus 30 or something. But hey, Torok, you're not bad. Why are you looking at the camera like that? So confused?
I was like, the guests are on -2. What happened last week, guys?
The thing is, this is after Torok has gone. I don't want to ruin the guest record. Logs into the guest record. It's on fire. Like, what is it to ruin? It's just ashes.
I realised
Scatter them and hope something grows.
I should have been as bold as humanly possible. Why am I playing it safe for the guests? They ruined it. They ruined it already.
That's how you do it. Also, for those of you back at home, if you don't know, we're going to be playing on the patch 14.11. Massive changes coming in for this league. So we prepared a normal, interactive and informative patch rundown. Don't worry, this is going to be serious. Take a look.
Oh Lord.
Today I will be guiding you through patch 14.11. This patch will affect pick and ban on NLC and even your life as you go through solo queue. So might as well dive into it. You know, just as me, that Cassante was a weapon of mass destruction that should have never been created. He is extremely powerful, so Riot decided to nerf Camille and Irelia. But since Cassante has been dominating his lane, his Q is now cheaper than before, but his W takes less time to charge and he can no longer withstand nuclear warhead as he did before. On the AD carry role, Jinx was having too much fun, and since Arcane 2 only comes out in November, her attack damage growth has been reduced. Talking about Arcane, Caitlyn took a chill pill. Her Yordle Snap Trap no longer has as many calories as it did before, and she is no longer able to one-shot you with her ultimate. When we talk about diet, our protein shake was nerfed on his fight abilities, but for those of you who actually know how to play him, like 3 of you, it should have no hard effect. If you want to talk about fire, Smolder disappeared from the map, but since Dragon Age revealed its trailer, someone had to properly demonstrate what a dragon is. Not only abilities are cheaper, but Critical Strike feels even better when you build it. Bringing up the elements, well, let's feel the zap of Static Shiv. It has been buffed, you become faster, deal more damage, zap even harder, and all for the small price of it's cheaper. So yeah, spam it. Immortal Shield Bow now gets a better shield as you go through the game, but Blackfire Torch is no longer as powerful as it was before. Sorry junglers, you might actually have to learn how to play the game. Nah, I'm kidding, you don't even look at the chat. This pretty much sums up patch 14.11. There's a lot of other changes, but I think these are the big ones. There's nothing relevant to talk about. Wait, what? Pantheon has been... Arise, my brethren, from shadows deep and still. The Pantheon doth glow with divine will. Behold, this Q with arcane power doth grow. Madness and fury on our foes bestow. His W, like fate's hand, strikes with heaven's weight, bringing percentage health damage to our gate. And his E, a bulwark against magic and steel, grants him defense as strong as his seal. Join the quest in top lane, jungle or mid, with Yumi beside whatever wars bid. Conquer the rift and the universe claim, not as gods but as men with mortal flame. And this is the patch. So, fun fact, when you do the thing, it actually ruins the buttons. I thought they would just unbutton themselves. No. Yeah, I ruined the shirt.
That shirt, I was like, I hope you didn't like that shirt, because that was commitment to the The Superman.
When I heard the first
Check
pop,
out
I
my
was
chest
like,
vibe.
well, we gotta commit now. we gotta go.
How's your cat, by the way? By the way, just in terms of like the.
I actually bought a couch for the cat, so let's
That's
not
amazing.
talk
Like,
about
it's not for you. It's just for the cat.
It's actually the cat's couch now. So yeah, there's a lot of changes now with this patch, and obviously I focus a little bit more on one specific champion. We'll not name him, but there's a lot going on with 14.11. How do you believe this is going to affect the meta inside of NLC?
I don't think he'll do anything.
Good job, thank you. Not even Blackfire
welcome.
Torch, nothing.
I think the thing is, Blackfire Torch was nice, but honestly, a lot of the reason we are like, a lot of the AP junglers don't even need Blackfire Torch to be good. Like Zyra, we saw do a 20-minute Baron in 15 seconds yesterday. Don't need Blackfire to do that. Karthus does not need Blackfire Torch. Lilia arguably is better without Blackfire Torch. And you're going down this list, it's like, it's a nice item. It's been useful. It's shown people you can do it. But honestly, it's partly because AD mids have been so good that people need to find the AP junglers. And Blackfire Torch isn't going to change that because Leandries is still good, and Fated Ashes, that component, is still really good. You don't need to complete an item to get the burns. You're already better at that kind of level 6 mark than you were before those items were invented / reworked.
But what about the Jinx though? I think Jinx is such a high priority right now, especially for NLC. How do we deal with this?
So the thing is, Jinx, even though she got moved around, let's say, she got nudged by Riot Games. The thing is Jinx is still Jinx. And Jinx has been an absolute terror across, well, the NLC already this split, but also even like the NLC RPS tournament that happened weeks before with all of our promotion teams as well, where this character is just taking over the Rift perpetually. And the fact is, it's even better in our level of play because she is so good when the game gets to team fights, when the game comes to one reset, one pick or something you can play off of, or when one team just runs into the other team, right? Like that is when Jinx is in heaven. And I saw 3 fights last week where Jinx just got to mow down 1, mow down 2, mow down 3, right? And it's because people are funneling into Jinx's way of playing the game. I don't think we've seen ample answers from people right now in terms of how to deal with Jinx. And regardless of her getting pushed around a little bit by Riot Games, I'm telling you right now, all the teams in our league are still going to be eyeing up this champ and thinking, yeah, she's pretty damn good.
So what would be the answer towards the Jinx? We've seen some AP being brought as an AD carrier, at least to go for that bot line. How would you actually look into this situation?
Yeah, and I believe that was Jinx's one loss, right? Was to sort of that huge amount of range coming out with Jace in mid lane, with Hui in bot lane, right? The entire archetype being, look, Jinx is not going to be able to get a reset or even auto attack against us because we outrange her entirely. That's definitely a way to look at beating Jinx. Another way is just to find other pillars of your comp that make Jinx's life hard to play. So for example, we had, I believe this was DMG, they picked a Phelios Thresh versus a Jinx Nautilus. They got very far ahead, everyone's happy, but then the issue is your Phelios Thresh were not able to hit. And so I think I even commented at the time when I was watching the games, they really needed Ornn on B4, B5, or some kind of champion that's going to be able to threaten that Jinx from range, again, in a different way, right? It doesn't have to be with damage. It can be with, CC in the case of Call of the Forge God, I believe it's called. There we go, getting my casting roots.
Yeah.
Getting there. But the idea is that, there are other things that make Jinx's life hard to play, so your Phelios can match her DPS, right? And then I guess this would be a final way of doing it, and we saw it a little bit with, I think, Painful was trying to bring out the Zed, right?
Okay.
You can use Assassins as another way to leverage versus Jinx. So think Akali, think Zed, think Talon. I mean, these types of champions can be really, really good versus Jinx in the long run because they can play on the side of a fight, and whilst, the Jinx wants to play a fight in one direction, they make it B2 or more, right? So that's the power of the Assassins.
It almost looks like you're picking a champion and then the other team has to work their way around that specific champion while they're allowing the other lines to just thrive on their picks versus those protections versus the Jinx. And Initialize, now we're looking into RUD versus Venom Crest, and these are really 2 powerful teams. This is the match of the day as well. So Lingard and then Nata, obviously they both want to get their hands on the Jinx, but then the rest of the map, it's a big question mark, and Venom Crest are looking really, really spicy, and I don't think they showed everything.
No, and remember, like, Lingard's also a person who was doing things like running the Hui bot. They went 7-0-7 last time he pulled that out, and that was really disgusting. I think it might have been then that had the win against the Jinx with that kind of combo, if I remember correctly. I have to go check out that scoreboard again. But they are a team who have got some players with a few of those pocket picks to their name. Not that, of course, RUD aren't, and that's partly what makes this draft quite interesting is I think my eyes also turn to someone like Turrican, right, who has already pulled out the Karthus, has proven he can be a hard-farming carry jungler on a lot of those EP choices, and it means, like, our focus in draft is going to be an interesting one because I think there are a lot of win conditions across the board. I still think I favour Venomcrest just slightly because some of those earlier flaws, I think it's fair to say, in the Ruddy way of playing, particularly, shall we say, around mid lane over-shoving without team support, was really exposed in that game too, and Venomcrest are looking pretty competent and cohesive enough to theoretically punish that.
And I don't know if everybody saw this on the desk. We had the interview with Don Jake after the game with Ruddy in the previous week, and he was saying like the team kind of got caught on the hubris, which is ironic because Alex went for hubris first item. The idea that they were so good on the previous split that they're now still living on that high moment, and this may get them off guard. It's almost like they started on the previous split where they start really well and then they crumble and then they go back to that miracle run. But I don't think they can afford that, even with the 4 slots going for the EMEA Masters, which is a blessing for the NLC. We got 4 slots, but still, you're not allowed to slip on any sort of day. Even if we're week 2, you have all days count, right, Torok?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're looking at the split ahead, especially if you're putting yourself in Ruddy's shoes, right? This win versus Venomcrest is probably one of the most important ones you want to pick up early on in the season because you start thinking about head-to-heads, you start thinking about confidence. You know, all these types of things, you'd much rather win this match now rather than get stuck on whatever was going on last split when you had an entirely different roster, and so did Venomcrest for that matter. You know, you need to come in and put your stamp on this summer's NLC and get yourself what should be, most likely, a win that will add up in the long run. So this is a very, very important game for both teams, no doubt about that.
When you look into both teams, I would like you both to highlight me lanes to watch, the ones that we should be keeping our eyes on. I have 2 in particular, but I want to see if it's going to be the same as you folks.
I think for Venomcrest, I think Lingard had a phenomenal debut week, was showing some really interesting picks and really popping off, has got those AP champions he's willing to play and look good on outside of just the laning phase. We have seen a lot of players back when that sort of Season 8 awesome dudes meta, where a lot of AD carries tried to pick up mages and could lane with them and had no idea how to team fight in position with them. Lingard is one of them, so that should be pretty exciting. On the other side, I think Turrican has come on over from the Turkish region and has really looked good. I am excited to see what he could do because there's a world with some of the champions in meta right now where he could absolutely turbo gap people.
Okay, I love it. Torok, what's your take as well? I mean, it's gotta be Nata, right? You know Nata. Nata destroyed you multiple times, so you know Nata, right?
Whoa. I didn't realize you were starting off like that. if I remember correctly, didn't Nata end up getting benched at some point as well, or is that just? Oh wait, no, wait, I can't do that to him, right? But in all seriousness, I'm pretty keen on actually seeing what's going to go on in mid because Alex is a very, very important member of this Ruddy side and somebody that they've come out and said, you know, that it is somebody they worked with, if I remember correctly, in the off season. They put a lot of effort into actually picking this guy up, right? It wasn't just a random scoop. This was somebody that Ruddy have sort of put at the pillar of their plans for this year, and to me at least, it seems very important that we see a better performance out of Alex this week in what should be a very important match for his team, because he definitely let the side down last week.
Yeah, because the team is playing around him. I believe it was Don Jake on the interview with me that he did before the split itself started. The idea that it's almost like Alex's team, and then they work around him. And he did shine through the entire spring split. He did. He had a couple of times where he went a little bit above, but still, he needs to show up. I was also looking into the top lane. Build versus lane, it should be an interesting matchup. So we got the top, we got the jungle, we got the mid, but all 3 of us agree on that AD carry bot line. And CP, Alaric also have to step up a lot, those supports. I mean, they're not like Romeo. They don't roam a lot, but can they wreak havoc through the map?
I think for sure. I think the other thing is one of the things I'm going to have my eyes on is going to be these kind of early game first 10 minutes moves from the support, especially because things like the Leona and the Nautilus are so high prio in the current meta. Those moves to mid lane, especially if there's a lane swap and support roam timers get a bit weird and off the standard kind of timers, I think if you start attacking mid lane, that happened last week in game 2 for Ruddy, and it really put them in a hole. They managed to play their way out of it somewhat, but they still lost that game largely off a lot of the advantages were given up from the mid lane attacks. And if that comes on the back of those support plays, yes, I think they could cause a lot of chaos.
If you remember Alaric's first game in the NLC, he actually had that fight on Top Crab versus Blue Whites when he was level 2 as Zach. So this is definitely a guy who can get around the map as well. I don't want to just put all of them not in the Romeo category either, because as far as I'm concerned, this is someone who is coming off probably the most interesting solo queue account that I've seen, being a challenger Zach support OTP. If you remember, I'm also a fan of that pick, and I believe that in an engaged support meta where his Zach is a threat alongside other champions, I'm sure Alaric's going to get stuck in there as well around mid lane. Don't you worry about that.
I like that. So mid lane could be a focus on both supports, but also we're going through a technical pause. You can see on the bottom right. Have a break, have a Kit Kat. I would like to have a Kit Kat right now. But with the idea of draft itself, I know 14.11 might not affect as much as I at least suspected it would. So we should highlight the champions that were picked in the previous week. What should we expect as well? And there we go. We had a lot of Nautilus. Nautilus seems to be the cherry on top of the cake. Xante as well, the Jinx as well, Wei as well. Something happened to Talia, even though she had such a big presence. The presence was not the best.
No, and I think part of this as well is we had this conversation a little early, because Torek mentioned that. We didn't get a chance to dive into it because we've got the pause here anyways. Might as well start chatting about it. So it's like, look, at this level of play, at our level of play, Jinx is super potent because we get to team fights so easily. We're not really... like you go up to EU, right? And how many Lucian armies we've seen work in EU, with the exception perhaps of Rahel, who's just come on over and been one of these LTK challenger players that done crazy things and brought the Lucian working. But those kind of more micro-intensive, narrow but very strong points of power and win conditions, we do tend to default to team fights around objectives in particular. And that's partly why things like the Jinx and stuff have worked out. And Talia is a champion that, yes, can win you objectives, but it's a lot more macro intensive. You need to be really good at splitting people off, creating those odd number fight, having someone set up the pick for you, and you don't get to just play front to back with Talia and guarantee a win. That's not really Talia's primary strength. He's okay at it, but you're not getting the value out of the Weaver's Wall, that ability to reposition and get the unusual angles, and that takes a little bit higher level coordination and macro, and especially because some of these teams are actually quite fresh. That can be a little hard to pull off.
Another champion that I know it's not going to happen, it's not going to appear, but Corki. Corki also has been buffed even more, so that one should be a perma ban. Talking about the bans with the 14.11, is there any sort of bans aside from the Corki that should be stable right now, Torek, when you look with your coach's eyes?
Yeah, so I know Corki is a very stable ban. I believe Skarner was also 100% presence as a ban last week in the NLC as well.
Silly champion.
I do think, weirdly enough, if teams put in the preparation, that Skarner is, though, pretty answerable. And the reason why I say that is we have some mage bot lane players in our league. I think Skarner as a champion is specifically weak to being kited, and specifically weak because it's quite low damage, right? Skarner's not the one who's probably killing your entire team, right? Okay. So the point of, the way you want to deal with Skarner, if you see it come in, is you want to just have a death ball that is more potent than Skarner's, ultimately, and make it so he's essentially nullified. And I do think there is a chance that we get a couple of teams this week, especially I believe Skarner got a little bit nerfed as well, that they look at it and go, you know what, we can actually drop that Skarner ban, because if Skarner comes out, we're able to sculpt a composition around it. But obviously he's a very strong champion as well, so I expect him to still catch a lot of bans, without a doubt.
I think with that as well, he's quite blindable, so even if it's like, okay, you can deal with the Skarner, he's still quite strong in the draft because he's good part of a death ball himself, and whatever the composition's made, he'll still find use. It's just like, is this champion going to win you the game? Not guaranteed, but he's still going to be a strong death ball himself. He's still a good blind pickable, so I expect we'll still see quite a lot of it. He's kind of filling the role that Xante used to do 1, 2, 3 in a way that now we see Xante a little bit further down the draft, because things like the Rumble and the Kennen have started to make Xante feel pretty miserable right now.
I like that. And Rumble is such a good answer. We actually saw that Rumble on the previous week for NLC and completely demolished the Xante. You don't want to play the Rumble blind. You want to answer the Xante pick. So that's why I think Xante is going down the line in terms of priority. Talking about priority, I know all the players are ready to jump into Champion Select as soon as we can. We'll jump into the first one of the day. It's also match of the day. It's also RUD versus Venom Crest. I had an open conversation. I'm trying to contact as many players as I can and having some conversations behind the screen. And a lot of people have been noticing the Venom Crest roster and the way they play is a really powerful one, even though we only had access to only 2 games. Scrim-wise, I get some leaks, and I'm not going to share those leaks itself. I'm getting a lot of leaks. I'm talking with all the players that I can. But it seems like Venom Crest is really, really complicated to deal with because it's not the spring split Venom Crest. It's not like we're so ahead of meta because we played together before, yada yada, and we only have this playstyle. It's like they only showed this playstyle until now because they're that powerful. They only want to show specific picks because it's only week 1, so they're comfortable right now. So I do believe this is the team to take down for now, alongside Nord. And Ruddy have to step up. And I'm getting information that Ruddy will lose their 5th ban. So that is information for you folks at home.
I mean, we've
Maybe
just
Skarner
been
will
talking
go
about,
through.
Well, we've just been talking about how important some of those kind of counter pick options are. Like the fact that Skarner is super blind pickable, but the Xante maybe isn't. That could prove really problematic here, particularly when both of these teams are known for having some of those wilder counter pick options, some of those wilder flex pick options, and giving Venom Crest more leeway on that front could really hurt Ruddy here.
There you go. So let's jump into Champion Select. Wolverine as the coach on the other side. Goto for the Venom Crest roster. It's going to be Xante, the first one taken down. We expect the Corki, we expect the Skarner because it seems like even though there's an answer, they don't feel quite comfortable putting it out there. Should this be a red ban for Jinx, or do you let it go a little bit further on?
It ultimately depends on if you've got a strategy ready, right? As far as I'm concerned, Jinx is capable of being defeated, but you need to come at it with a strategy. And I think what we didn't see from NLC teams last week was a coherent strategy on how to actually get past Jinx. My hope would be if it's left open, then we're going to see, range. We're going to see assassins. We're going to see long range engage. There's going to be hopefully factors that actually say, look, this is how we're going to deal with Jinx, and then we get to see that game play out. As it is, Skarner and Corki are both gone.
Yeah. So, because jumping on that point, it's not so much about getting past Jinx, it's getting to the Jinx in some way, right? If you're just playing hitting frontline on each side, Jinx wins those. That's by far the best champion in the game right now at doing that. I think it's no surprise to see both the kind of S tier AD carry mid picks gone, but now something like the Zac for Ruddy might well come on through. Built can play it, Alaric can play it, and if you're trying to then threaten a Jinx, Zac is one of the better options at it. So they are just going to first pick it. It's a flex for them, so it's a little harder to counter pick right now, but the Ruddy special.
I'm not entirely sure what I'm witnessing right now. I mean, as much as I like Zac, I'm not sure he's really able to come in this part of the draft. However, Venom Crest are already picking an immobile straight into Zac.
It's a great
start. Very happy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going well for Ruddy so far. But I will say I'm definitely interested to see where Ruddy go with this Zac because it could be a lane swap, as you said. It could go into multiple lanes as well. So I mean, I guess it gives them a lot of flex potency in how they want to play the game, and that's why uniquely we see this pick for Ruddy in this match. So all to play for on the rest of the picks.
I think the Karthus allows you to kind of follow up on the Zac engage super well as well, because wherever Zac goes, you just throw a laser down on top of them. The Kalista really opens up the Zac as a flex as well. It can still go top, but now if it does go towards the support, Zac gets additional CC and the ability to go in and out again. That's already pretty strong as a combo, so I think Ruddy are feeling okay with a very iconic first 3 picks. I think Venom Crest have gone a bit more standard, but I think they're going to need to find some way to protect the Varus a little bit more, so I wonder whether a Nautilus here early would be super valuable, though an Alistair kind of fulfills a similar role. I don't know how much I like that per se into the Zac. I think the Nautilus there is a little bit more... the fact you can kind of throw down your R button in particular is quite valuable on certain picks. So I don't know. The Alistair's locked in regardless, and hopefully you can body block enough.
I was thinking that the Zac, I know you squinted your eyes, so I want to get your intake, but I was thinking about the Alistair because you can stop the Zegme there with the Pulverize and even the Headbutt. So if you're really fast with the Headbutt, you can stop the jump, but why were you squinting? Tell me.
So
Coach.
The Alistair in of itself has relatively okay interactions with Zac. There's absolutely no debate about that, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's picked with that intent in mind, that you can cancel some of his engages. You know, the lane phase will be relatively stable. But the issue is, at least from my position, is that Venom Crest really aren't using their counter picks appropriately. What I'm seeing already from these first 3 picks on each side is it looks to me that Ruddy are going to get a very comfortable time for their Karthus. You know, bot lane 2v2, it does not look unstable. It looks very playable. You know, it's not one way of feeling under pressure. Your Karthus should be able to full clear very comfortably in this game right now. And I'm wondering from the side of Venom Crest where they're going to find their sort of counter hook in draft, because I feel like right now they're playing it very, very safe. And playing it safe versus a Karthus who's going to stack 300 CS on your head is not a fun time. So I'm hoping they figure something out so they're actually able to apply pressure on this Karthus with their Xin, or they're thinking of some sort of compositional advantage we're yet to see yet.
I think to move on to the second phase of bans here as well, I do think those 2 Venom Crest bans make a lot of sense into Alex. Karthus is really potent right now because of the number of AD mids that can dive with the Karthus ult on top of them, because it gives you that extra kind of damage threshold to kind of hit those kill combos, because Karthus presses R as you dive a turret, and realistically people die. They're going to lock in the LeBlanc early on to try and offer a bit of combo with the Xin Zhao theoretically to threaten something like the Karthus. And they're debating a Jace now or a Ruddy. They tried that in game 2 last week, and I wasn't that sold. Remind as well, Built played the Sejuani top, so this is still theoretically a flex where you could have the Sejuani. I mean, I don't think we're seeing the Karthus go outside of the jungle. It's probably a Sejuani top, probably a Zac bottom.
Let's look at the mid lane. Alex can pull the Jace, but also the Zed. He loves that one. And if you want to go to Father Varus, you don't have a lot of options to protect him. Like, you can dodge a lot of that CC they can provide, and there you go. That's the Zed. That's his cookie. You're smiling because I know you spotted that as well. You did, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It was the one remaining AD champion for him.
It was like,
This definitely
there's
gets
only
the seal of approval, because it fits within Alex's wheelhouse, number one, which we love, right? It's a player on comfort. It's a way for him to really express his skill, which is a big part of this Ruddy roster as well. TF obviously being hovered as well for the top matchup, which is actually really interesting, so we should get back to that. But I think the premise that has arrived now from this Ruddy draft is, okay, we've got the classic mid jungle we want, the AP AD. We're enabling Alex on his AD champs. I think there's all the expression in the world here for Kitrukan and Alex to really take over this game, and Alaric's also on comfort. For me, I think Ruddy leave this draft very, very happy. However, Venom Crest have finally managed to find their edge in this draft, which is the TF. So, take it away, guys.
Yeah. And TF can be pretty nasty into a lot of those tank matchups topside. It's why he's been quite good into things like the Cassante, gets a free time there, which can be pretty miserable. I think if this map gets played wide, Ruddy are really pleased, because the Zed can combo up with, say, the Zac diving a side lane, with the Karthus ult on top in, and those kind of skirmishes in those tower dives in the side lane, really, really potent. If it comes to the TF finding picks, that could get tricky. And the other thing is, if it comes to team fights, Zed and Kalista could have a rough time finding easy pockets to play in, and actually getting to someone like the Varus could still be a bit tricky if it is around those 5v5s. But I do think, as Torek was saying, look, you can still get real value out of the combos that Ruddy have.
Yeah, I was studying, I've been studying as much as I can, and I noticed a TF player in Korea that plays only TF top with the Wit's End right now. And since you have double magic on the top side with Sejuani and the Karthus, this could be a good pull. I hate the pick, but might work somehow. Venom Crest versus Red is going to be the match of the day. It's going to be the first one as well. So without further ado, it's on to Veteran with the bird, the vessel, right? And I think Middlecott is there. I don't know. He's still locked in the elevator. Does anybody know?
I can hear you. Apparently you guys can't hear Middlecott right now. Don't worry, you're never missing much when that's occurring. I'm pretty sure that you guys can hear me, which is fantastic. All right, love the Karthus pick, obviously. Love the Zac first pick. Zac's one of the strongest champions, especially how much low mobility is in the range. LeBlanc pick, a little bit of a suicidal pick there, I think. You could literally have flexed Karthus into mid lane and it would have actually done really, really well here. But the Zed Karthus combo, you have to be thinking about every time when it comes to Alex. His Zed was phenomenal. That was the big turning point of Ruddy last split, was when Alex brought out that Zed and suddenly went from being this like all in all the time, no matter what, I will get you even if it takes me 8 deaths to get you, player into this very calm and concentrated and focused split pushing presence. But with the Zed Karthus, it's literally just RR, you're dead, right? And so LeBlanc, if she doesn't get anything really done pre-6, and even then it's not really guaranteed, if she doesn't get anything done pre-6, she's basically going to be a cannon minion to this Zed, especially with the presence of the Karthus. I think RUD's composition is extremely difficult to play into.
Yeah, but then I think from my position, as I believe my microphone is now working, we do need to pull it back to sort of the way that these teams have set themselves up from a narrative perspective, right? In spring, Venomcrest came out pretty much swinging. Real unexpected frontrunners in the league, and obviously RUD took their time, scaled up, and eventually ended up beating Venomcrest 3-0 in the playoffs. And it almost feels, Veteran, like we've had a little bit of a reset, because we've got another strong start from Venomcrest. We've got RUD looking good, but maybe not getting the results in the way that they would necessarily liked. And when we start looking at a few of the individual pieces, again, we could look at Lenny for Venomcrest doing great things, and Alex having a few of these troubles where he's getting a little bit punished for his over-aggressiveness as well.
Yeah, and I mean, right now it does feel like Alex ever since the finals, because this was also true in the MEA Masters as well, right? Ever since the NLC finals, it does feel like Alex has fallen a little bit back into bad habits. And that's why it's crucial to note that the Zed was what pulled him out of those bad habits last time, right? This feels like a champion where he doesn't feel the need to like test his limits. He knows his limits very comfortably on it. And so I hope this allows them to segue back into the Alex we knew from the second half of regular split and for most of playoffs right up until that finals versus Lion's Creed.
Yeah, I do feel like we need to give a little bit of stock to Venomcrest though, because whilst we can look at that composition and go, it is going to be a bit of a rougher time going up against RUD, I think that this roster probably has a bit more proven talent on it than their one from spring, right? I think Lingard is a player who has been a bit of a journeyman through a lot of the ERLs and has had strong performances, especially in week 1. And yeah, you still got players like Lenny who have been absolutely excellent as well.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, RUD's lineup this split, very differentiated from last split because of how much proven talent's there. You have Nata, Alex is proven now, Built is proven. It's not the same kind of rookie lineup as before, so let's see if Venomcrest can pull it off.
Welcome on to Summoner's Rift for the first game of week 2 and our game of the day. RUD Esports with a 1-1 start in week 1, whereas Venomcrest were able to get the 2-0 alongside Nord, our two undefeated teams at the top of the standings. Felt like we could have the potential of a little bit of a rivalry building between these two teams over the course of the NLC, and it's an opportunity for two of our potential playoff teams at the end of the split facing off nice and early.
Yep, I mean, you have double split push composition here by Venomcrest, but it is into that Karthus, right? It is into that Zac, two champions that play really, really well with Fog of War, around Fog of War, and into side lanes in particular, right? Zac, that persistent threat in Fog, Karthus, that persistent threat, no matter what, so long as the ultimate is up on him. Zed, an insane split push with that. The one thing that you would somewhat lack here would be wave clear midsection, but if Karthus does have that R up, you do have a really strong free man in that midsection while these sides start to play out. So Karthus being able to be a threat on all sides does make his composition very difficult. Late invade.
Oh, Theocax are going to be bullied off his blue. Lingard and Simpy both heading to lane, and the Karthus stealing away this blue buff is going to feel great. And Alaric is sort of sticking around, wants to bully Theocax off of his wolves as well. The Jinjiao not actually too powerful at the level 1, does get the smite down to hit the level 2. taken to around about 60% HP, but already an aggressive start here from Ruddy.
Yep, they'll do Karthus a little bit. Big question for me is midsection here, right? Because I don't believe Zed has enough options on the wave early to be able to pressure in, and I think LeBlanc, especially of the way that she's leaning heavy towards topside, is not going to give Ruddy a free diagonal pass into the top quadrant of their jungle. And with TF into Sejuani, Xin Zhao could end up camps ahead on the first clear versus this Karthus, so let's see what happens.
I do want to have a little bit of a look at this Zac support here from Alaric. Obviously, has already played it for Ruddy in the NLC, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on what this champion offers as opposed to a more traditional engage support.
Well, the moment I saw it, the moment that Zac was first picked, I was thinking there's no way these guys can do Braum, because this will definitely be a flex pick into it. Zac's a really, really good counter, in particular to a lot of tanks in the meta. He's essentially an anti-tank tank, and when it comes to bot lane, you normally see him flex into support. You even normally see him flex into support. You theoretically normally see him talked about as a flex into support when Braum is being looked at on bot lane, which is why they have to go to the Alistar, but then you basically see the entirety of level 1, 2, 3, which leads to this particular position. And this
a
is
little
big
bit of a dive. Alaric missing though on the elastic slingshot there. Lingard is going to flash back away under the tower. This has been butchered by Ruddy. The passive's going to get popped. And the Varus claims first blood. Kit Ruken.
Yeah.
Thinking about hitting down a lay waste, but that is pretty much as bad as it could have gone for Ruddy.
Yep, the Fury was still there though, and with Karthus showing on the bot lane, the Xin Zhao with that LeBlanc on mid and with that TF pressure on top, as we were talking about before, is safe to go into the top side quadrant against Karthus. Remember, Karthus did not get the wolves on the bot side, so Zac's moving up here to try to at least guarantee Karthus gets those wolves, so he at least remains even, or has maybe some semblance of a vague lead, but Xin Zhao is going to get that first reset off before the Karthus does on this rotation.
Oh, and just, you can see the laning from Lenny there.
Yeah.
He's already up 20 CS. Nearest makes no difference on built. The Death spoke about how good TF was into a lot of these tanks matchups. Alex forced to retreat away from the mid lane.
Oh no.
Going to find him with a bit of a re-engage. Goes over the wall. The flash going to be followed through as Alex taken very low. Simpy on the rotate. Fierce going to be here as well as Kit Ruken collapses from the top side jungle. Alric going to go back in with the additional tankiness from the Aftershock. Eventually going to be petering out. So ends up just being a flash burnt by Theocax. It didn't really gain all that much.
No scuttles on the first pass from Xin Zhao, but all of Xin Zhao's camps are up while Karthus is still waiting for resets. Good job by Alaric though. Defended wolves on top side, defended red on bot side. Now Karthus needs to get back on tempo against his Xin Zhao, who's already doing the first aspects of his second clear. The first camps Karthus is going to be able to do on the second clear is going to be those Krugs on bot side. They're expecting to get a lot more from that dive on bot and likely just keep farming Xin Zhao's bot side on repeat waves, but that didn't happen. Instead, Xin Zhao got that tempo lead in the jungle. He's going to do this pass of camps on bot side and towards top, and then he's going to reset, and he's going to be pretty decently far ahead of Karthus, but Karthus still an insanely powerful pick here, not exactly suffering, but not the kind of lead Ruddy were hoping to get off of their initial plays.
And I'm sorry, Veteran, every time I look down at the scoreboard, like the top lane lead is getting bigger for Lenny. I guess I'm wondering, how does this get used by Venomcrest in order to sort of gain a more meaningful advantage than they've already got here in the early game?
Yeah, well, Zed has already almost hit 6. You need to.
Oh, we've got a TP into
get
the
that
mid lane,
now.
I think, there.
Yeah, they're all
They've
on
got
it.
a bit
This
of an
is the
engagement.
moment.
Alex is getting taken low.
Oh,
Guys,
he's
we're
out.
seeing the Drake going down, and Alex was just about able to escape. So Ruddy getting something there, and that first ultimate used by Lenny.
To fix it. Yeah, I mean, he's burned ult. That's going to be really, really big for LeBlanc at this exact point. He hit 6 as the gank was happening. You really need to make something happen to Alex now because the comp becomes absurdly free once Karthus hits 6, and he's still very close. Like, remember, he did end up getting that wolf camp on bot side, didn't get the wolf camp on top side of Xin Zhao, whereas he himself got an initial rotation of camps. He didn't necessarily stop Karthus to any kind of significant degree. Karthus was not set that far behind in CS and in levels, so Karthus Zed are about to have their really big unbreakable combo, and all the advantages LeBlanc could have had. All those opportunities are kind of gone right now, right? All those opportunities are kind of gone right now. The Ruddy composition is still scaling up. Yes, Venomcrest have done a really, really good job in the opening phases of the game, but you have to do so much better into the picks that Ruddy have done.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of want to see what an offensive play looks like from Venom Crest, because they've gotten sort of a load of their advantages passively through top lane and then kind of through just taking advantage of a misexecution by Ruddy built, throwing out the ultimate, but the rest of Ruddy choosing not to commit onto the Jin Zhao. Lenny throws out the gold card and is able to run away.
Alarak extremely active on the map. This is really, really, really good. This is normally the kind of movement where I do assume it's coached somewhat. We can't ever really say for sure, but this is the kind of support every coach wishes that their support was, at least in the attempts of defending multiple sides on these bounce back on bot, not just some guy who is chilling on bot lane waiting for the bounce back to occur, or at most just going for the same set of vision wards, even when you know that you have like the free wave circumstances of being able to lean towards top side.
This out of mana. Deathmark going to be dropped down by Alex, going for the solo kill on his enemy laner. Not quite able to get it, but here comes the Requiem, and it's a nightmare for Fierce in the mid lane.
So pushes glasses into face. Actually, how the combo is supposed to be going is that the Karthus presses R, then the Z presses R, and then the damage application from the Z extends with the Karthus R coming down. Kills just everywhere, man.
Yeah, kill for Lenny. Flash hold with a double knock up there by Alaric. Lingard forced into the alcove. His support is able to run away for a little bit before he gets taken down. The level 6 from Nata flashing over the ball on top of the Varus. The aggressive plays from Ruddy starting to pay off. Alaric going in once again. It's a double kill for Nata. Absolutely fantastic for Ruddy as Theocax able to get one back. There's low mana on Kit Rukin. Goes into the death to fight the passive form. It's just about dodging those Skittles. But Theocax isn't able. A messy skirmish in the bottom lane, but Ruddy come out on top.
And they fixed the bot wave as well. Karthus in that passive and Zac right at the end there, able to fix it. Looked like it could have gone really, really far south there. Xin Zhao staying alive for longer. All that time, on top side, a kill. Looks like the Sejuani is doing a lot better here than we would have expected. Still heavily, heavily down in CS though. Maybe a window for Lenny to do something, but the Karthus is 2-1 and 2. Right, the initial small advantages that you got on the map didn't translate into anything. You're seeing how oppressive this Ruddy composition can be no matter where it is you choose to fight them. Mid lane with that solo kill, bot lane with that extended skirmish, and top lane you're seeing Sejuani all-ins, especially when Ignite is up.
Yep.
Does seem to be the thing.
Oh, speaking of all-ins...
Fierce playing too hard topside. Yeah.
Just when he's charging it up, you just wait for it to happen. But I do like that we're sort of highlighting this top lane a little bit, because that CS differential is gargantuan. But it hasn't grown really too much in the last few minutes. And we're speaking about the all-ins that Built can do. Now that he's going a bit towards that AP route, Lenny needs to be very careful, because any overstep could potentially be lethal, as we may be seeing that come to fruition here. The stun going to come through. Kit Rukin in the area, going to be flashing over the wall, and Lenny cannot escape from Built.
Yep, not going quite so well on the TF top side then, and is again was always going to have massive problems into the multiple ways Ruddy have of covering side lanes. This looks like a very clear Ruddy win here. Very oppressive draft. I want to see more from Alex here. The level 6 is about to come up on Karthus. Alaric, though, every wave he can be on the map, he is on the map somewhere. If he can be topside, he is topside. There's anything to do on topside at all. Otherwise, at least mid lane will be shadowed out. This is a very, very oppressive state of affairs for Venom Crest to be playing into.
And they've still got Lingard here on this Varus, so long-range lethality options available to him if they're able to get a little bit of poke down before a fight starts. But because Ruddy have got so many ways of starting fights, it doesn't feel like he's going to have the opportunity for him to do that all that much.
Yeah, not at all.
Oh no.
Looks like Lingard's going to have a bit of a problem getting back in lane.
Yes, I would agree with you there, veteran. As Kit Rukin gets their 3rd kill of the game. Theocax moving over. Simply's going to be coming down as well. Nata converging too. Here comes Alex. The Karthus already dead, but he's not going to be caring about that all too much. The Requiem comes down. The Zac in the passive. The ult from the Zed, and it's damage all day from Ruddy. Nata the beneficiary as he picks up 2, and Alex gets 1 more.
Yeah, I mean, kill Karthus all you like. That is merely the beginning of your torment, and that was a lot of damage coming out. Not just from him, but also Alex coming in hot at the ends there, landing multiple Qs there, jamming his iron, and he's not done yet.
It's throwing down the chain, revealing which LeBlanc is the real one. The Shuriken not quite connecting, but Ruddy feels like they're starting to play with a little bit of swagger, veteran.
Yep. Alex needs to get this wave in. LeBlanc does have teleports, and Alex obviously does not, so he needs to be able to get back out to try and contest this wave coming in. And look who's out on the map again, alright? Bouncing wave on bot side, Sejuani the one with the crash on top side here, Kalista moving up, and Alaric moving in ahead. So active, right? Even on that bot lane, preventing Lingard coming in. If he needs an opportunity to do more, he will do more.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we need to give a little bit of credit to Simpy. He has been attempting to match Alaric, but only one of the supports has 7 assists at the moment. Make that 8! Actually, a kill for Alaric there. He's able to claim it. Nata going to be falling down. It feels like Ruddy have overextended a little bit. This is an opportunity for VenomCrest to claim a little bit back. But here comes the Turkish Delight duo. Looking to clean up in the Baron pit. Theocax and Fierce both having to make their escape with the flashes over the wall, but Alex is going to be following them regardless, dropping down the depth. Got the Lingard and removing him from existence. Fierce going to be the next target as he's able to escape over the wall, playing with fire. But here comes the Karthus.
No!
LeBlanc actually is Fierce dashes away.
No!
Just about able to escape.
Oh, wait,
Simpy
he has off. No
helping
mana.
engage a restart of the fight. Kit Ruken with no mana to speak of can't opt for an execution, and VenomCrest, whilst they are down, they are definitely not out of this game, as Alex needs to be very careful here. Theocrax not quite in range to take out the enemy mid laner.
There was honey through multiple spots there. He could have actually killed the LeBlanc, but stayed in the fight for a lot longer there, trying to get some additional mana, wasn't able to get the mana needed to execute Fierce. Oh, yeah, Zach's
the
back,
bouncy
baby.
castle, the blast cone, into the let's bounce, into the
hey!
pullback, into the go back in again! Double kill for Nata. And Ruddy are playing with their food at this point. 14 kills in 14 minutes.
This only actually translates into a 1.4k gold lead overall, okay? VenomCrest do have 8 kills. They do have 5 grubs. They need those grubs. Ruddy were late to that grubs contest. Karthus did not have R. Karthus was bot side of the map. Zed came in very, very late there as well. Zach had to give his life at the start, trying to contest. But bear in mind, for a comp that needs to split push, having these 5 grubs is really, really, really good for them. TF grabbing that kill is really good for them. LeBlanc, even with this Zed being 2 kills and 3 assists ahead, LeBlanc's actually doing well. She has 2 kills, she has 1 assist, she's at least on parity of Zed. The problem is going to be this Karthus, right? This Karthus basically has a 0.5 to all of this. LeBlanc's not 1v1 against this Zed when the Karthus has R. She's 1 versus 1.5. That's always how I used to think about it on HUK. So if you want to do multiple groupings on them, you're going to get the Let's Bounce into the additional bounce from the R on Kalista, into the AoE from the Karthus, into everything else. You don't want to do that. They do have to make things happen on both sides at the same time and try to do them at least in the position where Karthus isn't going to be able to influence both to such a significant degree. They still need to make things happen on sides, and those 5 grubs are going to be what lets them get a lot on sides if any of those plays work. Ruddy's job is to make sure those plays do not work, and they have an idiot-proof composition with which to do that. Last shoutouts, Kalista 6, 2, and 3. That was the one champion I was worried about here. Not exactly a wave clear behemoth. We were theorizing how Karthus could help with that in midsection. But right now, if you leave Lingard alone against Nata, Lingard's getting blown up.
Yeah, and I think it enables the rest of the composition so well, because when I look at champions like Karthus, like Zed to a lesser extent as well, they're great. They can offer a lot of power on their own, but if you can get that additional lockdown, they are so much stronger. Ultimate going to be thrown by Alaric, but Nata was rooted up by the Chains of Corruption, so isn't quite able to follow up. And it does feel like Ruddy are starting to extend the map advantage here a little bit. They've got that Herald in pocket, and all they need to do is summon that in the mid lane. They'll have taken all of those outer turrets out.
Yeah, Karthus showing Karthus showing top side there with the Sejuani, escorting that wave in towards tier 2 and grabbing tier 1, did give LeBlanc more freedom to play aggressive on bot side, and Alex, despite having R up, despite Karthus also having R up, was unwilling to commit to a full combo on Fierce. So whatever Fierce is doing on bot side there against Zed, clearly Alex is respecting it. Clearly that could be a potential opening on the next pass if everything remains the same on bot side. I think we're going to see LeBlanc taking that tier 1 on bot, and then the question is she bouncing off tier 2 earlier than Ruddy are able to bounce off tier 2 top side? Is Karthus going to want to contest that, or are Ruddy going to try to push things through in the mid sections? Because if they just try to match things on top side, they better be very confident that they have the tempo, or they can lose control of the map very, very fast.
Can we just talk about how normal the amount of damage Nata did to Lingard with 1Q was there?
Yeah, it's actually quite disturbing.
Nata... Lethality Kalista is absolutely something. Kitruken summoning the Herald in the mid lane, built roaming down from the top lane, and Ruddy going for miniature collapse onto this mid lane tower. Venomcrest recognises they can't defend and pull back away. This is giving Ruddy priority for that third Drakes that spawned onto the map. Smite going to go down, Kitruken having to flash away. Triple knock-up coming through from Simpy, and Fierce is going to be coming over the wall. But Karthus already dead, but once again, the passive is what you need to fear. Massive damage onto all 5 members of Venomcrest, but none of them dropping down yet.
Back.
Ruddy, though, still looking for a re-engage. Alaric going to get pulled back on minimal HP as Theocax jumps onto Bill. Alex on the side, looking for a flank, but Simpy playing bodyguard, not letting the Zed in.
Yep, Fierce's recall with TP here. Wave on bot's decent for him. They drop a ward over into the brush for him to get back out as well. Looks like they have priority on the Fart Drake. And he's on Alex! He did not appreciate that laning phase and what Alex is putting him through there, but Fierce has actually come into his own. He was the big point on the map on the last few rotations, and that recall into TP here, they've gotten a lot of priority in midsection. They're getting this Drake.
Oh, not back there from Simpy into the flash pulverize.
Maybe a bit too much.
Having to jump away, stun going to be dropped as well, but they can't kill the enemy support. Alex looking for combos onto the back line. Lingard is just about able to get away. Simpy not so fortunate. 1-for-0 in favor of Ruddy.
Yeah, Lingard actually lived there off to the side of Alex doing the R, but that Drake, that did go over to Venomcrest. That is much more time than they thought they'd have, but you have to think, with a Karthus, with a Zed, time does favor Ruddy overall. Nata will be worried about it, though. Nata's champion is the big one here that is going to fall off later on, so long as Lingard gets to play League of Legends. He hasn't really been having a good time of it lately, alright? Another death on the board for him there, and this Zed has had his number the whole time.
He's jumping back to the distortion. Going to stun him against the turret, but goes into that Zhonya's, and Venomcrest understanding the game that Ruddy want to play and responding to it beautifully.
Yeah, and there's no immediate response. Sejuani is now picking up that bot side wave, but TF has already put it out before he reset into that immediate Fnatic-esque play on the top side there with the TF. So Venomcrest are also in control of the map here. Ruddy somewhat dropping the ball with the execution of some of these plays. I really love how Alaric's positioning all around the map. I really love the pressure he's outputting. But if the execution of the plays that you do from it go this awry, it's not really, they're not going to start feeling the pressure every time if they think they can start winning those situations if you pull the trigger. Having the gun on you is not really scary if you think the guy's just going to miss.
Or if you know it's not loaded.
That was loaded, right? The aim was just terrible.
I mean, with this Karthus, I think that gun pretty much is loaded. 2.5 items now.
The more they were staring at the gun, the more they realized Dunhill was written on the side, you know?
Oh, my words. Right, Venomcrest, still the ones that can be enforced on, I think, the most. I think those towers falling in favor of Ruddy is really benefiting them right now, and the gold lead, it's reasonable, not marginal, but definitely not domination.
Have to make
by
this work.
That's the imagination. Lenny getting jumped onto here by Alex Spears here as well. The chains go through, and
very interesting.
After kind of being put in the dirt earlier on, Lenny has quietly got himself 4 kills, and this TF is very difficult to match in the side.
Let me draw your mind back to 2019 LEC. There was a really big concept there. The two big teams at the time, okay, let's be real, this is true of almost any period in European history, were G2 and Fnatic.
G2?
Yes, it was. G2, as they still do, love to play their big, wide, free-lane states. That's what RUD are basically trying to do this game. Fnatic's big counter to that took them to 5 games against G2 at their best multiple times was the Fnatic 032 setup. It was a 2-lane constrained setup where they're like, okay, you guys are really, really good at playing around sides, so if we don't have 5 billion globals, what we're going to do is we're going to do combos like Aatrox Twisted Fates, normally Nemesis on the TF, and we're going to have our TF shadow that Aatrox all the time. And instead of trying to contest in all 3 lanes, we'll just kill someone on 1 lane. And that's what you're seeing here. The TF is actually ahead of the LeBlanc, but the principle remains it's an easy setup for a really fast 2v1. And even though Sejuani was actually getting large amounts of tempo on bot side, RUD have had to retreat their whole map setup because Alex is dead. So this is how Venom Quest are going to make it back. They're going to do these constrained 2-lane setups. They have to get a kill if they do it. They have to fight. You can't just hold this, because if you hold it for an elongated period of time, RUD will just gradually win the game. So this is Venom Quest's way in. They seem very conscientious of it. The contest to this would be Zac getting an engage off on mid while you're doing it, or Zac matching your top side with Karthus while you're doing it. RUD basically being able to utilize their shadows to be able to match your 2-man on one of those lanes. We're in this same situation again. Sejuani crashing on bot side, TF on top side with a big lean from his team.
Yeah, but I think that's when you start looking at the sort of 3-man unit that Venom Crest has sort of defending. You've got the Jin Zhao, who can go invulnerable with his ultimate. You've got the Alistair, who is always going to be able to soak up a load of damage. And this Edge of Night now completed from Lingard prevents that big engage coming through from Alaric initially. It prevents the Fates call from just going and killing someone. Obviously, there are so many tools that RUD have available, but Venom Crest have got a little bit more safety than they did a few minutes ago, and that's really allowed them to sort of set up in this way where Lenny and Fierce can go and kill people on those sides.
This is more the situation you want. You want LeBlanc to be giving up that wave on bot side.
Oh, Alex dodges away from the card. The ult coming down onto Lenny. He's got nowhere to go except his grave. Alaric going to be joining on the sides. So there's 3 members of Venom Crest here, potentially in danger of the flash forward to get the CC down. Knocked up into the sky. Simpy throws him under the tower. And Theocax gets the kill. Kitrukin has to flash away from the Chains of Corruption there from Lingard. And again, plays on side lane being responded to pretty decently by both teams.
Yeah, LeBlanc immediately moved to respond to that rather than try to extend on bot side when Sejuani left bot side wave. But RUD did have big advantage in that setup. RUD were playing 3 lanes. Venom Quest were just matching them 3 lanes. LeBlanc on bot, TF on top, instead of sacrificing 1 lane and all-inning on the other. However, even in that even state, Venom Quest, they are managing to make a kill trade back. They're not getting full map control over it, but it looks like they're going to do a really fast play in towards Drake. They have to make these kills work because they're resets behind.
No flash on Kitrukin. Lenny is TP right into the mid lane, straight into the Ice Bowler. Here comes the TP out from Alex, immediately getting on top of the TF, dropping the ultimate as well as Lenny ends up falling down. Simpy on the run, flashing away over the wall, but you know that Alaric is going to chase him to the ends of the earth. The rest of RUD not so keen though, as it's just a single pick and RUD cheating towards the Baron.
Sometimes Kalista is so disturbing. Picks that would otherwise be suicidal, that would otherwise be guaranteed 1-for-1s if they're anything at all, suddenly become really safe plays with that extra dash that the Kalista gives you. Fresh, if he was an AD carry, if you will, but it looks like they are giving up Drake for this Baron, and Venom Quest are happy to go and take that Drake. Not like they have that much choice though. RUD are firmly in the driver's seat.
And the composition that we thought was going to scale pretty disgustingly is starting to become more and more terminally online. Alaric just finding himself in the weirdest of positions to respond to attempted aggression from Simpy, but he wasn't able to get the stun, and it does look like Zed is going to be dropping down. He's going to be going back onto Lenny. How is he alive? How is Alex alive? Oh, that was absolutely beautiful stuff. Here come the rest of the boys turning up. 2 kills in the top lane. How is Fierce losing a 1v1 to Nata? And RUD, they're going to reset, not opting for an additional push on the top side. Fierce is... I don't know what you're doing, buddy, but it looks like you're going to be able to get out with your life.
There are so many times this game where like some random thing is happening on the other side of the map while there's activity elsewhere, you know, and it's like, wait, what? How did they end up there? But Fierce does manage to make it out. Nata does manage to make it out as well. Fierce not quite having, well, anywhere near the amount of damage needed to be able to take on Nata in that position, try to remove another Baron. VenonQuest want to remove as many of these Barons as possible. We talked about wave clear issues on RUD potentially and how they could be fixed by Karthus. You also have similar issues with VenonQuest. It is the Varus that you're looking to give you any kind of semblance of it whatsoever, but you have to think VenonQuest, they had those few good rotations. They haven't really been getting them anymore. TF gonna likely fix topside, recall, and then immediately look to try to make a play if Ruddy ever split up. But Ruddy now are happy to do this constrained two-lane setup. And Ruddy, when they are with Karthus, with Zac, with Sejuani, you have to think all of the power is on them. Simpy is the guy that has been the difference maker. Let's see if he can be it again.
Oh, here comes the Requiem going down onto Fierce. Bit of a split fight here, but it favours Ruddy regardless. Simpy and Theocax going to be the next target. Alaric jumping in. The double stun again. This Zac is absolutely disgusting with the CC that he can output. And Nata, Kiruk and Alex going to be more than happy to clean up the kills. There's 3 dead on VenonQuest. There is a Baron buff on the backs of Ruddy. And Lingard and Lenny can't offer enough defense. Another stun, another kill. The tower's falling down, and Ruddy will take out VenonQuest and get their second win of the split.
Time beats everybody, it's undefeated, but it definitely defeated VenonQuest long before it would ever defeat Ruddy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of called it from draft a little bit.
Very
Ruddy,
impressive draft.
Very impressive draft.
Yeah.
A load of scaling, a load of damage, a load of engage. It felt like VenonQuest, whilst they were making some excellent responses to plays in that game, they were always responses. I never felt like they were able to assert themselves on that game as much as Ruddy did.
But in terms of individual development, you have to shout out Alaric, right? Everywhere on the map in that early phase and late game, yes, sometimes the execution was questionable, but the intent there, the positioning, what he's attempting to do, that is the makings of a very strong individual support, especially in a competitive environment.
Yeah, excellent stuff to see. A W for Ruddy. I'm sure the fans are going to love that one. We are going to be throwing to a quick break for the analyst test, break down that game and set us up for game 2.
Break it down, step on the gas, let's get out of town. We're gonna break out and have some fun. We're gonna do what you never done. Oh yeah. Come on, take your body with you.